can't remember what they call it. On Zoom, they call it something where you can just do only speaker view and you can't see people. But that really, to me, that takes all the fun out of Zoom. It's not really Zoom if I can't see at least a few faces. So okay. I'm glad we have some people on here tonight. Those that miss this are going to be really mad at themselves, and then they're going to have to watch it back and wish they had watched it live. So boo to all of them. Okay, for all of you who are on here, I have a couple things to tell you. It says my internet connection is unstable. Are you seeing that? Can you see me? Am I live? Does everybody see me moving around live? All right, just making sure. I hate it when things get frozen. So, okay. So a couple of things, and then we're going to jump right into this interview because that's why I got on here tonight, because I'm excited about this interview. First thing, y'all might have seen my post about my North Star. Haven't had a visible pimple in 5 years or something like that. Ever since I started Plexus, that was one of the things I didn't expect. And this week, out of the blue, I'm like, what in the crap is growing between my eyes? It's just like a... Right. It's just like a millimeter off from looking like I've got one of those rubies right in the center, you know. Then it would look cool. Just like a millimeter from being cool, like the whole rest of my life story. Like it matches everything ever that's ever happened to me. She's just like 1 millimeter from being one of the cool kids. So one other announcement. No, I have a couple announcements. One thing that's interesting about what's going on in our life now, my 2 boy children, Jetty and Trip, took my cat. You guys know my lovely cat that's all like, she was a rescue kitty. And for a rescue kitty, you think, man, she's got a lot of luxurious fur. How on the earth did somebody just, well, they dropped her out in the middle of a Norman interstate. Back in the days, I thought I was still allergic to cats. We swept her up off the interstate, busy intersection, not interstate, intersection, big intersection in Norman, Oklahoma. Brought her home, and we've had her, and she luxuriates all around this house like she is the princess. And my boys shaved her to look like a lion. They made her have only a mane and then the tip of her tail without telling me. What?
She looks awesome.
Jetty says she looks awesome. Yeah, bring her here. Oh, look at kiddo. For a little while. Okay. They didn't get all the way up. Like, this is all scalped down. But look at this tail. And when she looked, I'm sorry, baby. They didn't get up all the way here because she was mad. And she weren't you mad? So they didn't quite get it all where it was only mane. She's shoulders and up. She's got a mane. Anyway, now when she luxuriates, when she luxuriates and does her tail like this, it is really funny looking because just the tip of it, it's like Lion King looking. Some. That cat never goes outside. She's the most rotten cat in the universe. Okay. Next thing I want to tell you is Gut Health Group starts on Monday. I have to give a quick, really quick testimony from last month's Gut Health Group that I just learned about. Kind of knew bits and pieces of it, but I pieced it all together today. One of the gentlemen who joined that group had previously struggled. I may not get every part of this right, but if you're on here, the person who told me this testimony, you feel free to correct me. Okay. If she's not on here, I'll just tell it how I want to, right? Okay. So the person that she invited to it was a gentleman who had struggled with Crohn's disease, had been on steroids really bad, had tried some of the products, and had a bad experience. As you may well know, if someone's struggling and they're on steroids, they can have a heavy detox overload go on. And what happened was she asked if she could put him in the Gut Health group, let him listen. The doctor had told him basically, no probiotics. Basically, when you put someone on a steroid, that isn't the intention of a steroid, is to shut down the immune function. And the intention of a probiotic and anything microbiome related is to turn on the immune system. So the doctors are like, no, that's going to do the opposite of what we want to do. And that's true. It does do the opposite of what they want to do, but it's not the opposite of what's the best thing to do. The best thing to do, in my humble, only I'm a gut health queen, I'm not a doctor, but whatever. is to turn on the immune function. And anyway, he got in the group, watched some of the videos, and decided to get off of his steroids and start taking the products, and he's feeling much better. And this is a person who had started off, I'm sure, skeptical because their doctor, had been opposite of what we were saying in that group. He's already feeling better. And the language that she used when she was telling me how he was feeling was scary language. He wasn't doing well at all before Plexus. So anyway, just going to give you a little bit of hope. Make sure that you have until all the way up until Monday to get someone to order the triplex or get someone to get a welcome pack with the triplex. That will get everyone they don't have to have it in their hands on Monday. I'm going to give everybody until Monday. I've got the group set up and ready to go. But tonight I'm really excited about this interview that I'm about to do. I'm kind of going to let it be we're going to do freestyle here because we'll see where this takes us. But many of you probably know Brianne Coolidge. She's a butterfly, and she went Emerald in what month was it? Bree? Uh-oh. Is she frozen?
April.
Oh, there she is. Okay. So end of April, so we announced it in the beginning of May. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I am probably going to let you do a lot of freestyle. I will guide you on questions as you need to, but there's a lag between me talking and you talking, so don't feel bad if you just keep talking. But I want to ask you, she's like, what? This is not what I signed up for. I do have a bunch of questions for you, but if it gets to where, like, I'm freezing or you're freezing, don't feel like you're talking on top of me, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and everybody let me know, too, because I live in the middle of nowhere, and we don't have good internet, so if I need to, I can switch over onto my phone, too.
Okay. It's when you're talking, it's fine, but your face freezes when you're talking.
Well, here, I'll get on my phone, too, and see if that's better.
We'll give her a second because this is going to be worth your time tonight, guys. She's not freezing on yours? Her voice is doing fine, but her motions are, is it the same way on you guys? Is she doing okay on your screens? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, then it's me. Let's do this thing because it's not going to bother me. We'll make sure it's recording, right? Okay. I didn't want the recording to come back and you to be like stuck in that happens to me sometimes. Okay.
See, I think that's a ploy for Facebook and YouTube because every live that I've ever done, I'm always like, because they want me to pay so I can fix my frame.
Your frame, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
So true. Okay, so my first question that I want to ask you is, can you tell us a little bit about what your life was like before Plexus and how long ago was that?
Yeah, sure. So it's something that I don't love to think about, of course, because we all have been there, right, where we've had those journeys that we can't believe where we are now and that we lived thinking that was normal, and that was us. So I joined, it'll be 2 years in August. I was a complete probiotic snob before Plexus. I wanted nothing to do with a network marketing company. I thought I knew everything I needed to know about supplements, but we were in a really bad place. How compliant? I need to be really compliant on here. So if you have questions about this, make sure you can shoot me any messages. But I live on a dairy farm in the middle of nowhere. We have more cows than we have people around where I live. And so my husband, of course, is a dairy farmer. My kids are 4, 5, and 7. And my oldest daughter, when she was 14 months old, I was a teacher at the time, got a phone call at work that something was not right with her. She was staying with my mom. She had eaten a little piece of a cashew and had gone into shock. And so we rushed her to the emergency room. 6 hours later, I still came home with a little girl. I mean, it was the scariest day of my life. Came home with a little girl that was unrecognizable. Her ears swelled shut. Her eyes had swollen shut. And so that started a really long journey for us with her health and wellness and trying to figure out her different symptoms. It wasn't just food living on a dairy farm. If we went outside and my husband had just cut the grass, her eyes would not just run, but like the yellow, gunky, I mean, she to roll in the grass and to be a normal kid just never could happen for her. So we had tons of different specialists looking into things with her. We did the blood test, we did the back pricks. By the time she was 4.5, we had her off of eggs, gluten, dairy, anything with tree nuts. We were limiting sugars. Different processed food colorings made her go crazy. She couldn't go outside. We were pretty much told that she needed a bubble. And they just accepted, they thought that that was normal for us, that we just needed to be okay with that. And I would go to bed crying at night because I couldn't do anything. I felt like I couldn't do anything. I thought that I had done the research. We had a really healthy diet. Like, what else do you do with a 4.5-year-old? But at the same time, my kiddos were all born within 3.5 years of each other. I had been diagnosed with 3 different disorders myself. One where when I was teaching one day, my knee had swollen to the point where I couldn't get my pants on in the morning. And so I was sent home. I was teaching, I didn't have sub plans ready, so I sucked it up and went into work anyway. And they sent me to the emergency room, and that started every other week. I was going in and having my joint strained from the fluid. But living where I do, we don't have specialists. And so I was trying to wait to get into a specialist to see what I had to do. They told me that I should not have any more children. I only had one at that time, and we were already actively trying for our next because we had a lot of issues getting pregnant. And then I was diagnosed with another where I would end up with like really bad muscle fatigue, and then another where I could not have any kind of gluten in my diet. And so having all of that happen with Riley and everything that she was going through, and then everything that I was going through, but I thought that we were healthy is the crazy part. And when people listen to our story, they think like, how did you do that? But we had to, we had lives, we had jobs, we had things that needed to be done. At that time I'd had 3 kids. And so you just think that that's your new normal, and you just go on with your day. And that's where we were. I just thought that that's what we needed to do. But I had resigned from my teaching job. I was supposed to go back after my second was a year old, and we decided that we just couldn't put my oldest in a daycare setting. And so we made the decision to stay home, quit my teaching job, walked away from that income, and a week later found out I was pregnant with my son. And so it was just this I cried a lot that day because we didn't have insurance. We had 3 kids on the way, and we had just built a house. It was a really, really scary time for us, but you get through it because that's what you have to do. You don't have any other options. But I thought that I was healthy is the crazy part. And so I always keep that in mind talking to people, is that so many people, we don't wake up one day and just feel bad. It's such a gradual progression that we don't know that we feel awful. So it's kind of our jobs to teach them that they feel awful, which sounds awful. It's so true.
We kind of think, I did a post yesterday about my nightstand and antacids and antifungals and all the junk I had on my nightstand was just part of that. I thought, well, gosh, I guess this is what 30s look like. I had no idea that didn't have to be the normal. Okay, my curiosity really bubbled up inside me when you were talking about being a probiotic snob. And I'm assuming you were seeing people post about Plexus. Can you tell what was the hook in the mouth? Was it someone being stubborn and shaking you, or was it persistence, or what was it finally that made you?
Yeah, I actually was one of those people that avoided Facebook for a really long time because I felt like everyone was trying to sell me something and I wanted nothing to do with it. And so I avoided Facebook, and I actually didn't see a ton of Plexus posts. It was in my area, but it was not it's not like it is now. And so I actually quit Plexus the first time that I did it. I had a friend that just said, you should try this. She was seeing me post on Facebook. And so I did. I tried the probiotic and the cleanse, and I did it for 2 or 3 weeks. I remember we were on our way to a vacation, and we stopped at a Friendly's, and I didn't want to eat ice cream. And I was like, whoa, that's huge, because I always wanted sweets. And then I quit. I wasn't consistent. I was a preferred customer at the time. And so that was in January, and I didn't join until August. And Erica, my direct upline, had seen through, and she pretended to buy buy vinyl off of me. So at that time, I quit teaching, but to kind of make up for some of our, bills and things that we had to do, I started a vinyl business in my basement, and I was making like vinyl decals for walls. And so I was up until like 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, sending out these $5 pieces of vinyl that I'd spent like 40 messages to people and making 30 cents back at the end of it, but it was helping to pay our groceries. And so she came over and stood in my driveway and pretended, I mean, she really did need the bottle, and it was super, super cute. But she ended up talking to me that day and knew that I'm a huge researcher and that I'm a yellow. And she just said, you really need to do the research. You really need to try these products and just give them an honest shot. And so I'm a huge research person. I love the science. I love the ingredients behind it. And so I did. I researched the products, and we ended up joining as wholesale. But mostly because I'm a yellow, that's why I ended up joining, because she took the time to buy something off of me. So I figured that I would return the favor. And at that time, we only had the 5-day return policy. But I knew that if I was going to do it and I was really going to give it an honest go with our family, because 2 years ago, like, you guys that are joining now, like, you have no bar excuses. Like, everybody getting 60 days back money guarantee is crazy amazing. But so when I joined, I just thought, like, listen, if we're going to do this, I'm going to try it. If it doesn't work out, then it's okay. But at that point, it was strict product. Like, if anybody talked to me about selling, because that's what I thought that it was then, I was just selling products, I wanted nothing to do with it.
How long did that process take before you decided that you wanted to look at the business side of it?
I didn't want to look at the business side. Aaron Kroll, who you guys all know, is my second direct upline. And my direct upline was not doing a ton with the business. And so I actually went silver before I really knew that we had a back office. And I know that sounds crazy because I did not want to do anything with the sharing side of it, but a couple of my, good friends, we became good friends because of the different symptoms that we had gone through with our kids. And so I shared with them pretty immediately that we were having these results. And so they joined on. And Erin sent me a message I'll never forget. I mean, you guys that know Erin know that you don't forget conversations with her anyway. But she sent me a message and she said, you have a really amazing story. I've heard about it. You just went silver in your back office. And I was like, okay, like, great. That's really cool. And she said, why don't you start to, you could sell these products and really make a business out of it. And I said, no, I am not a salesperson. Do not ever talk to me about this again. I do not want anything to do with it. And she said, that's great. And I will never forget the words that she said. You are not a salesperson. You are a shares person. And that is all you need to do. And so I think that it's super important that you look into the color charts for people's personalities, because had she told me, like, hey, you could win a trip to Hawaii someday, that's cool, but that would not have tripped my trigger. Like, I would not have cared about that. I had a car that worked. I didn't really care. Like, the Lexus is amazing. I love it. But that would not have tripped my trigger. But as soon as she said that you could help other people and you're a shares person, game on. Like, I'm goal oriented then. I wanted to help everybody that I could. But it was a complete mind shift game with me that I had to look at it completely different. I wasn't selling anything. I had something that was going to change lives. And then I wanted everybody to have it because we were feeling amazing. I just had to get over that mentality that I was going to be knocking on doors and handing out purses like that. I never wanted to, not that there's anything against that. Passions come in all shapes and sizes, but that was not me.
I get it. It's funny how you have to repackage things in your own brain to make it okay to do the thing you're supposed to do. I mean, I that's been the whole existence of my journey too. So I totally understand it. It's so much of it is psychology and where, like you said, sharing, the concept of sharing is different to you than selling something. And it is to me too. So, okay. Fast forward a little bit or transition into, I want to learn about your business journey. That's why, that's really the reason I wanted to wrangle you on here, because I see your business. I see tons of momentum in times. I want to make sure everybody understands this. There have been times over the last year, actually over the last 2 years, when it would seem like everything we were doing as a company was swimming upstream. And I would see momentum in a few people's businesses, and yours is one of the ones. And so I want to know, tell me anything about that, anything that inspired you, motivated you. And then in a little bit, I want to get into some daily methods of operation, that kind of stuff. But tell me something about what tripped your trigger and did inspire you.
Sure. So those of you that have been around long enough, you guys remember Back Office Armageddon. I joined during Back Armageddon. I mean, that was crazy, but it taught me so much about who I am, about who the people on my team were, and about our company. Like, that was phenomenal. So I joined in August. That ended up happening in October. I cannot tell you how many nights I spent, because I was still a silver at that point. Like, I didn't really have a ton of a growing team. Like, we were building in numbers and customers, but I didn't really understand all of that stuff yet. But I would spend 2 hours on the phone on hold with Plexus while I was making dinner. And I mean, my husband is gone 14, 16 hours a day in the summer and in the fall. He wakes in the morning before we are up, and he gets home a lot of times after we sleep. And so I didn't feel like I had a lot of time to work this business at that point. I was still doing vinyl every day. I worked for my dad a couple days a week, and I was doing 3 kids. At that point, they were 5 and under by myself. And so that taught me a lot about who I was and how much belief I had in this. So that's huge. Like, if we can go through Back Office Armageddon, and those of you that did and we're still here, and those of you that didn't and you have what you have now, like, game on for everybody, because we have no bar excuses. But that was in October. I lost some people over that, and I honestly, as much as that hurt at that point, because being a yellow, like, I took that very personally, that was instrumental in my growth. As leaders in this company, whether you have 1 customer or 5,000 ambassadors, you cannot take everything personally. And that's something that you have to learn. And that taught me that really quickly. I had one girl that joined during Armageddon. Is it okay if I call it Armageddon? I mean, that's how I've always ranked it in my mind. I don't know. But I had one girl that joined during that. She had the flu. She got her products, did not understand why she didn't feel better. And then she started blasting it on Facebook. And she was somebody that a lot of people were like friends with and talked to. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know what to do with this. But the problem was not me. I mean, I'll gladly admit when I have a problem, but that's something that you have to get over really quickly, is that you cannot fix things for people if they are not willing to fix themselves. And so that whole thing taught me so much about that. But then we hit gold in January. I sat my husband down. He is my biggest shareholder. He is with me every single step of this. Like, we've talked about everything. When I have goals, we make them together. And so I sat down with him in January, and I just said, listen, at that point, I wasn't making a ton yet with Plexus. I never had to pay for my products. And we were definitely making enough to help pay for our groceries and stuff, but I was still making more with my vinyl business. But I really felt like it was holding me back. And I never felt like there was room for growth, more than what we had. So we sat down in January. I closed my vinyl business, which was huge for us, and I just poured everything into Plexus. We went gold in January. We went senior gold in March. We went ruby in May. And I remember getting messages and saying, you have the numbers, like, you might really double rank in May. And I was like, even then, I don't know. I never did the comparison game. I didn't know that I had people to compare it to. I didn't know what ranking was in terms of like how fast you went. So I think that was really big for me, because I didn't compare it to anybody. It was just something that was happening. And when I didn't rank that month, when we didn't double rank, I would be lying if I said that I wasn't set back from it, just because everything else had happened so naturally. But that was the biggest game changer for us, because we had a lot of momentum in terms of people were just kind of joining on. Between my husband and I, we have 140 some level 1s. And so we were ranking before we really had runners on our team. And so that not double ranking was a complete, because people thought that we were on track to rank Emerald of last July, if things had kept going like they were. And so God not having that happen for me was a complete divine thing, because I needed that time to start growing. I needed that time to learn that those goals aren't just going to happen if I'm not keeping up with them and really understanding what was going on and putting into that personal growth part that we talk about. That was huge for me, because I believed in the products. I felt so much better, but I was completely pouring from an empty cup. Like I was drained at the end of the night, because I felt like I needed to fix everybody's problems. So we had a little bit of a time period, but then when they put that double incentive in October last year with the double rank bonuses, for those of you that remember that, that was like complete game on again, because that carrot was dangling in front of me, and I wanted that double ruby to hit senior ruby. It was a $1,500 bonus that month, and I was like, I got it. I remember, Laura, you coming up to me at the end of Leaders Retreat, and I needed a few more people, because I was right at the end of the month, and you just saying that you were going to be praying for me, and I was like, we got this. Like, we have to have this. And I hit it at like 11:30 on the last day of the month, and I just went in my living room and just sobbed, because it was huge for our family. I mean, that replaced my teaching income. I mean, that was when I really felt like, no matter where you're at, sometimes it just feels like those goals are so far away, but they're not that far away if you just keep plugging in, doing we'll talk about it, but doing your daily operations and plugging away little bit by little bit, and you will get there.
Can you tell me, I think that's a great transition. I have other questions in between this and that, but I think I want you to talk about that right now. Can you tell me what your daily method, well, you tell me which way it would be the best order to talk about it in. Would you rather talk about like monthly, weekly, daily, or the other way around, daily, weekly, monthly, however, what makes sense in your brain?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of every month, I tell people all the time, like I didn't hit Emerald, my team hit Emerald, and we have such an amazing team. Like the month before we decided to hit, I didn't even actually have it on my radar. And that was another complete God divine thing. We hit Senior Ruby in October. I had not re-ranked to Senior Ruby until March. So we hit it, but then I felt like I was so burnt out, and Christmas, like I had so many excuses, and I just felt like I got the rank, and then like the rest of it's going to happen. And that's not the way that this works at all, obviously. So in March, we re-hit for the first time. I ended March with 796 points. And I'm not one, like the business side of this, I will talk about the products until I'm blue in the face, but I grew up very conservative. We did not talk about money. And so that was something that was hard for me to grasp in network marketing, that it's okay to share those blessings and that God wants us to be successful. Like that's been a huge growth curve for me. But I had a team, a loved teammate that messaged me, and she just said, why don't you go for Emerald? And she had no idea how many people we had on the team. She was going for gold, and she said, why don't you go for Emerald? And I sat down, like I was a math teacher, guys. I sat down, I looked at the numbers. Like if I would have been thinking numbers wise, I would not have gone for it. Like to end one month with 796 points and think that I'm going to get to 1,500, like that just didn't even make any sense. So we announced it to the team. We got the team behind it. We figured out a couple of causes that we wanted to donate to, and just said, game on, we're going to do this. And we ended up ending April. We had an 800 point jump. We ended April with 1,596. And that was not me. That was a lot of work, but that was God, and that was my team. Like they did this. We had a lot of things going up to that though, like February, we did a 28-day IPA challenge that was huge for my team, and seeing the way that they, like sister legs, started bonding, and I mean, that was just huge, phenomenal for our team. But we have month ends where I sit down, I map out my goals where I want to be for the end of the month, and then I break it down. I like to break things into thirds, so I know that whatever my goals are, like I have these little Post-it cards all over. And so my husband is a runner leg underneath of me. And so my goal is to always at least have 3 personally sponsored ambassadors on each of our legs and 3 personally sponsored customers. I need to see it though. So like the month that we are going for Emerald, I had Emerald written everywhere. I have daily affirmations all over the place in my closet. My dream board is there. Like I want to see those things in front of me because I want to know what I'm working for. So I have these little cards, and you can't really see it because of my glare on my light, but I just put at the top July, and then I have ambassadors 1, 2, 3 and customers 1, 2, 3. And as I reach out, then I write their names in, and I know that by the 10th of the month I want to have at least 1 of those spaces filled underneath of each, and for the 20th of the month I need to have 2, and for the 30th, of course, then I want 3. So it's just little things like that. Like it's not reinventing the wheel. It's not anything that I feel like is like mind-blowing mic drop kind of thing. It's just, breaking your goals down and putting them in front of you. Don't just think it, put it on paper. And so if my goals aren't matching up with what I want for the month, that was huge for us. Like saying that you want to be your next rank is amazing. But if you're not doing something every single day to get there, yeah, I have people on my team that say that they want to do things, and then I ask them what they did, and they scrolled through Facebook for 45 minutes. That's not an IPA. That's not something that's intentional for you. And something that's really big for me too, I think I shared this on another team call that you guys did, but these daily IPA journals are huge for me. I cannot go to bed at night without mapping out the next day because I don't know what our day is going to entail. I don't know if it's super sunny, like my husband mowed all day for hay, a couple days ago. And so we didn't see him the whole day. But then if it's rainy, he'll be home at 6 o'clock. But I don't know that beforehand. So I have to map out, like if I know that the next day I need to follow up with people, they go on my list. If I have 3 people that I want to reach out to the next day, they go on my list. And before I do anything else, I need to make sure that those things get done, because it's really easy to get on Facebook and think that you're going to scroll for 5 minutes and you're being really intentional, and you're not being intentional because you're just liking people's posts. And once you start with Plexus, the first 15 minutes of scrolling is Plexus people, and it's great to edify your team, but that's why you have team pages. And so that was something that it was really hard for me at first, because I don't need to like every single person's picture, or I'll be on Facebook liking everything all day long. So make sure that you get your IPAs done before you start the rest of your day. That's been huge for me.
Okay. So this next thing, I want to compliment you because I have, for the last 3 or 4 months, intentionally watched the way you post on Facebook. Is that mine?
Oh, no, it's probably me. My husband just got home.
Oh, okay.
His phone's ringing.
No, okay, that's totally fine. I just thought I need to turn it off if it's me. Okay, so I've been intentionally watching the way that you post on Facebook. And please don't everybody go friend request her, because I'm going to tell you what, when I'm not saying anything against friend requesting people, but follow her. That'd be a great idea. The reason I say this is because I made the mistake early on of accepting every Plexus person's friend request, and I ran out of space for, like, if I run into someone in the supermarket and I want to add them on Facebook, they can't add me because I have no more space. So I'm not telling you to, please everyone go friend request Brianne, but I would like for you to see some of the way that she posts. It's very engaging. It's very storytelling. It's very everything you guys hear me preach. Everything. I'm not saying that she never does, same as me, that she never does something that's an ad, but truthfully, I haven't seen it if she has. So it's very engaging, vulnerable, all the things that it needs to be to attract people to her. But here's my next question. Here's the way I look at Facebook, social media. It's like 2 parts. There's like what you post publicly and let the world see, and then there's Messenger. And so I feel like your news feed sets the stage and prepares people who if they have any interest whatsoever, it's preparing them. It's like, what do they call it? It's like dripping on them. But I'm just curious, do you private message people all the time and reach out to people who haven't reached out to you, or do you have to do that? I'm just curious.
No, I think that was something that was really foreign to me. Like, I didn't know what a cold message was until I was probably a Ruby or senior Ruby, because it scared me. And I did at first. I did the plexus vomit that we all talk about. I had a couple of friends from college, and I was so excited for them. Like, I found this thing that was going to cure the world. And I sent them messages like, hey, do you remember 10 years ago when we were in college and you struggled with this issue? I have something that's going to help you. Well, I didn't get a response back. Well, of course I didn't get a response back. Like, that does not work. So right away, that kind of made me a little bit turned off to it. But I always tell our team, like, one of our new ambassador trainings that we do, I have a storefront that has like prison bars on it, that's like downtown ghetto place. And then there's this other storefront that has all these bright, colorful windows, and it's painted in all these different ways. And I mean, it sounds really silly, but what store do you want to go into? Like, you're not going to pick the one that has the bars because you're going to be worried that you're going to get shot. Like, you don't go there. Right. So I see it so often. Like, we get really excited, and I get it. So you go to Facebook, you go to Google, and you type in plexus, and you put up the first pixelated picture, and you want everybody to know about it. Well, then everybody thinks that you're selling something. They don't want what you have because they don't know that you have something. They know that you went to Google and that you downloaded a picture. But then I also see on the flip side people that have amazing stories, but then they bog down their Facebook feed with so much drama. Like, everybody has drama, guys. You don't go to Facebook and lie and make your life seem perfect, because it's not. Like, we have 3 screaming kids sometimes during the day. We went to go to town because I wanted to take them to the candy store. We didn't get to the end of the driveway and they were fighting. So we turned around and we came home, and I put a picture up on Facebook of them sleeping. Like, we didn't go get candy. Like, life is not perfect in rainbows and butterflies. So don't lie to people, but you don't want to tell them. I mean, there's a way to put spins on things. Like, when I have my moments where my head bursts and I just want to go cry in the closet, I might not put that on Facebook. Like, that happens. But I think that you just treat your Facebook, and then people will come to you. But the kind of, I don't like to call it cold messaging. I like to call it warm messaging, just because it sounds nicer. But I don't do a lot of like, hey, this is my product. Do you want to try it? I do more of like, if somebody likes my Facebook post that I put up and it was plexus related, and I'm looking for more of a warm market, I go through and I look at the likes. I don't do this very often because that's the number one thing that I had to get out of my mind is I can put up a picture of my kids and get 200 likes. I can put up a picture of Facebook and get 2 likes. And then I feel like, oh man, that was not a good post. Mm-hmm. But then a week later, I'll have somebody message me and they'll say, hey, that post that you put up last week. So if you're a like person, get out of the mindset of having likes, because it's okay if people don't like your plexus post. It's controversial in some people's minds, so they're not going to like it. But back to the point of, I go on rabbit trails a lot. So if I go through and I need somebody else on a warm market, I'll go through the people that have liked it, and I'll just send them a message and just say, hey, I love the support that you gave me on that plexus post. I know that it's not something that maybe you use yet or that you're even interested in, but I just want you to know how much that means to me, because it's not always easy sharing parts of your heart. And leave it at that. And sometimes people just say, thank you. I've had some people that I've either found out that they already use plexus, or I found out that they are not interested in it at all, but they'll send back a message that says, I love seeing how happy you are. Like, people genuinely want to see you happy and succeed. There are some people that are still miserable and they're not ready for that yet because they have some of their own issues. But sending out something that simple and just telling people thank you is huge, because then you'll get those people, it doesn't happen every single time, but you'll have people that say, I've been watching you and I've been meaning to reach out and I just haven't. Can you tell me more about it? And then it opens up the door.
I thought of this the other day. Someone asked me a question in regards to their business. It was kind of a complainy, whiny type thing. They were complaining and whining about their business. And sometimes when someone does that, depending on who they are and how much I know about them already, I'll go to their Facebook wall and immediately I can diagnose within less than a minute. And I can usually, I thought of a word the other day. I don't even remember. I meant to tell Jetty after he got home, de-slime. You need to de-slime your Facebook. Very slimy. Now, I'm not saying this to you. I'm quite total contrary opposite of that with you. But I'm saying I see that on people, the exact message that you said, just that you sent to someone who liked your post, you can add one sentence to that and it would become slimy, depending on what you said. Like it was perfect. I want to write it down, is what I'm saying. It was perfect the way you said it. But if you add one, just the wrong tweak of,
are you ready to order yet?
Have you ever tried it? Makes it slimy if your intention is what your intention it was. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're just wanting to say thank you for the support, it's suddenly slimy. So I'm telling you right now, tweaking your Facebook, I didn't know the answer to the question that I was going to ask you when I said, do you do a lot of cold messaging? I didn't know what I was going to hear from you. The truth is, when you said that's recently, you're just kind of now getting introduced to reaching out to people more. Well, that's because of the way you set the stage. More people probably come to you or give you an inkling of some sort that they're interested. So like you're saying, it's a warm message, not a cold message. You don't have to feel like you're literally reaching out into a freezer and pulling someone out of there and shaking them and getting them warm.
Yep.
So I like
and
that.
We do IPA challenges with our team for warm messaging because we have people all the time that are joining new and they might not have that warm market yet and they don't have those posts to engage people back in. Yes. Krista Deary actually, the month that I was rooting for Emerald or going for Emerald with our team, she told me about this genius idea where she did a video. And so my sister-in-law, Chelsea, and I did a video and we just told our testimonies really quickly. We highlighted the Fab Four. And then that was it. It was like an 8 or 10 minute video. And we posted it on our team page. And our team just sent people a message that said, hey, could be entered in to do a giveaway. And so could you for the weekend. Do you have just a couple of minutes to help me out? And when the people would respond back and say yes, then they would send them the next message and that video clip and just said, can you watch this for 8 minutes, whatever it is, and then can you just give me your feedback on it? I would really appreciate it. It'll enter us. We did an Amazon gift card the last time. It'll enter us both into that Amazon gift card. It was not, can you watch this and order something from me? It was not, can you watch this and then I'm going to send you my link attached to it. And some people just watched it and they just said, I didn't have any idea about how much gut health affected us. And that was it. But then it led into so many different areas where people could actually have a conversation about it. And the month that we did that, I have one phenomenal leader on our team, Sabrina, who she just rocked that challenge. Like she sent it to 40 people and we sponsored it. So if you sent it to 5 people and screenshotted their response to you, then you got entered in for the giveaway is how we did it. But that kind of warm messaging works. Like it worked so well for our team. We grew so much that month, but it's not the kind, that you typically think of when it's a cold message and you're just like shooting out of the dark into somebody that scares me. And I had somebody do it to me the other day, which was kind of funny because I think, I do very often, I even have my husband do this, where I have him scroll through my Facebook and tell me what he thinks of it. Like if there's a post that maybe I shouldn't have done, or because I think that that's really important. Like sometimes I think something is really funny, but it's not. Like I have a weird personality about some things. So having a shareholder take stock of your Facebook and knowing that they can be super honest with you is really important. But I think I had somebody that sent me a friend request the other day and I didn't know her and I accepted it. And I'm not kidding, like 30 seconds later, I had a message from her and it said that she had joined this company and she wanted to do it with her closest people and wanted to know if I would do it with her. And I was like, Oh, honey, I sent her a message back and I said, can I be open with you about this? And I said, I've been a part of network marketing for almost 2 years and it is a complete passion of mine, but you will never get anyone doing it that way. And that is why network marketing has such a bad name. Don't ever send that message to anyone else. And I don't know why your upline didn't tell you. Like, don't send them. It was so bad. We're not close. I don't even know you.
For closest people.
If I'm your closest people, we have a lot of other things to work on.
Or anybody.
No.
You were her only shot. You would have been a good shot, man. She should have been a good. Can't blame him for trying, I guess. Okay.
I know. Hold on while I quit Plexus and I'll jump over.
Right. I just went Emerald, but hey.
Okay. The money is not that good.
In regards to the thing about the video that you were talking about the IPA challenge, is that a video that you have on YouTube? And not for the purpose of everyone sharing yours, but would it be a link you would be willing to share in the butterfly page? Or is it
of course.
Okay if you're not wanting to, if you don't want to?
Oh no, I'll share anything. I definitely and make it easy. Make it easy for your teams. Like I think that's been something that's been very big for me. Like there are videos that I want to share with my team, but like there's leaders in the company that I love and I adore, but that's because I built that up and I've watched their training videos. So somebody that's new on your team, you posting Whitney War or Jen Leaf or Sarah Marble, like you posting those people when they're not, I mean, it makes sense when when I post yours because we're on your team, but they don't know who those people are. They don't care what they have to say at that point. So if I love something that somebody says, I duplicate it. I make my own video. I stick it on our team page. I have videos or emails that I've typed up, and they'll change soon with the back office, but everybody on our team uses those emails. They send them to their customers. They send them to their ambassadors. Like, don't make your team work hard for it.
Okay. Let me see where I was. I keep getting caught up in what you're saying. I'm not a very good journalist. Because a journalist should be able to listen to you and then shoot back with the next question. But I want to make sure I get the questions that I had down here. Do you have a particular, okay, you talked about your journal and someone has asked, I remember you shared a link.
You can find it on Amazon.
Okay.
It's $10. It's called Daily IPA Journal. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it has like what verses you've read. There's a verse always every day at the end of it. But you write down like who you want to reach out to, who your rock stars are that you need to follow up with. So every day is a split page. And I fill mine out the night before so I can check it off the next day.
I noticed the other day on Facebook that you had posted something. I can't remember, probably Monday mail day or something like that. But is that do you have like Mondays are for this, Tuesdays are for this, and of course you're always doing your IPA, or do you just kind of do whatever you feel is on your heart? Is there something that keeps you on track?
Mail Day Monday has just kind of become one of the brands on social media. Like people always look forward to seeing how much it is. I mean, it sounds really silly, and sometimes I only get a couple of likes on the post, but I always have people that message me about that, even on my own team. Like they just want to see what I've mailed out that day. Some days it's just a picture of the kids like trying to carry all of our packages into the post office. One day like 2 weeks ago, I set off my alarm in my car because I was packaging up some bigger things, but that's a huge thing. Like I don't care if you have one customer and one ambassador, like I said, you have 500 of each. Let them know that you care, because you're not here because of you. You're here because of them. And I completely feel that with every ounce of my body. I had like 2 hours on Sunday. My kids were down at my in-laws, and there were probably some things that I should have been doing otherwise, but I spent 2 hours and I sent out physical cards in the mail to every one of my customers. And if they hadn't tried the Ease Cream, I sent them one. If they hadn't tried the new Slim, I sent them one. Some of them, if they hadn't ordered in a little while, I just told them, I miss you. I know that this was going really good for you. If you want to come back, I'd love to give you free shipping. Like they made me who I am. It wasn't me. So letting them know that I appreciate that, and same with my team. Like I hope that they would echo this, but I really try hard to do giveaways in our team pages to make sure that they know that like my name might say Emerald, but I'm not an Emerald. Our whole team is an Emerald, and that's something that I'll always give back to them. But as far as like having a super strict schedule, I don't. I mean, as far as what I'm doing, I mail things out pretty much every day. But I always seem to have more over the weekends just because of catalogs and sending things out to people.
Okay, out of curiosity, what all do you mail out? Catalogs, you mail out samples, you mail out prizes? Because I know people are going, what? She mails out stuff every day, so we want to know what you mail out. Tell us.
Yeah, so Amazon again. I love Amazon. I don't even know if I have one. They have these little pink bubble mailers. If you go to my page, you'll see it. But they fit perfectly inside of our catalogs. Don't ever just mail out a catalog. Like, I go through, if somebody has told me that they're suffering from stomach trouble, it's super simple. Like, this catalog is self-explanatory, but they don't want to see that you just stuck a catalog in the mail. So I make sure and open it up, and I jot things down on the pages that they need, the products that they need, and make it something that's really personal. I always send a card along with it. Some people, like, I've got my stack for today that needs to go out for tomorrow. If I think about somebody during the day, I jot their name down on the outside of the envelope, and I try to make it a point before I go to bed to finish it. Just because I think that that's huge. Like, we live in an age where, especially when we're doing an MLM, like, we live on the computers, we live on our phones, and it's easy to send a text message. It's really easy to pull up Facebook, and like, we've lost touch with reality. And so when you put that face back with that name, it's that whole, my grandma, if you follow me on that too, like, my grandparents are 82 and 84. They watch my kids every Tuesday and Thursday. Like, they're a huge, huge part of our life. And my grandma's always like, you do what? You got a car for what? Like, I love your vitamins, but they give you things for this? But she's always been very huge with me. Like, she had her favorite stores when she was growing up because she loved the interaction that she had with people. And I want that. We might have a marketing company. We might be amazed at how many things we can do with the digital age, but our lives aren't digital. Like, you've got to make it personal and send things out. So even if it's just a card to somebody to tell them that you're thinking of them, like, I know when I get that stuff in the mail, I love it. So I try really hard to make sure that I let people know that.
Do you have a particular file or system set in place for your onboarding or duplication process? Like, when a new person joins, and do you have it for your level 1s, or is it for your levels 1 through 3, or your whole team? Elaborate on it as much as you'd like.
That was something that I really struggled with because I'm very self-motivated. I just kind of picked up on things. Like, I didn't, you and Jetty were our closest jewels before Aaron and I hit in October, or in April. And so that was something, like, we didn't have the duplication down to us. We were just kind of figuring it out, and no fault of anyone. It's just, we all go through that. Like, you have people that we think are keeping up with things, and once your teams start growing, like, you cannot possibly keep up. Like, I'm your level 7 or 6? I mean, you can't possibly keep up with all of those people. And so I kind of just, like, things were happening, and I just thought, as awful as it sounds, like, I'm doing this, so other people probably can do this. So we've just started in the last couple months doing new ambassador Zooms. We try to do one every other Monday to get people on, or right before our team Zooms on Thursday, to make sure that that duplication process is there for that. We do differently detox posts that we're just trying to get going so we can tag people in that. But that's something that we're just really, really starting to do, because I think that now I'm realizing that there's so many people, and we don't, I pay for an email program called Synduit. It's not very much. I think it's like $10 a month. But I upload, like, our CSV files in the back office. I'm a huge dork with this stuff. That's my green. Like, I love lists, and I love Excel spreadsheets. And so I print them out. But this program allows me to upload every single, because let's be honest, if somebody's not checking the back office, they're not going to get those emails that go through the back office. So I felt like that was not a very good time spent for me. So you can upload every single person into these CSV files in the Synduit, and I send out a monthly newsletter to everyone on our team. I did today. I sent out a newsletter, or an email, to every one of my level 1s. just because I feel like that's one more way outside of our team page to kind of get people back in. But I think that that's super important, and we don't have, I'd love to think that nobody on my team feels like they're a level. We've never, like, we don't do leveled giveaways very often. I don't know if we ever have, just because when people are first joining, I feel like if I would have gotten into a page that was like, okay, my levels 1 through 3, this is for you, I wouldn't have known what level I was, and I don't know if I would have known how to find out what level I was. And so I don't ever want somebody to be turned off from that right away. So if we're doing a giveaway, I mean, it's easier for me too. Like, I just, I have these water bottles out. Like, I will do a giveaway. I'm planning to this weekend with them, just something simple like that. But then I don't have to worry about who's getting it or how much money is going into it. It's just, we're a team.
For everyone. Yeah, I love that. Okay, I have one more question, and then if there's anything else you want to add, please don't let me leave anything out that you wanted to talk about. But I'm curious if you've had one maybe splurge or fun thing that you've done, or maybe a goal that you had set, like when I turn emerald this, or are you still just in like, oh my God mode? Have you had a chance to do something splurgy yet?
I haven't really. I kind of have put it back into our team. Like, I'm going to be traveling 2 weeks before Leaders Retreat. I have a team that's going amazingly well in Florida. Like, they're just a phenomenal group of women. And so I was going to try to work out so I could go to Florida right before Leaders Retreat to be with them. But I realized how crunched it was going to be because my kids are flying down with us. And so I'm going to fly down to be with them for a weekend before. And I'm trying to get to different spots with my team, but I've never had a new car before in my life. My dad has a salvage yard, and so every car that I've ever had, and I'm completely blessed by this, but I've picked it off of a screen that's like the size of all of us right now, and it was wrecked. And then we send it to a repair yard, and they put it together for us, like to a body shop. So the car that I have, I actually was blessed enough to be able to keep it because it's a Traverse, so it has 3 seats. We always have extra kids. But it was flooded, and not that you guys need to know all of this, but anyway, it dings really, really loud because the wiring in it was awful. And so people were always picking on me if I was on the phone. You could hear my turn signal on the phone because it was so loud, or like if you opened up the door. So that I was like, I walked in, the guy thought that I was legit crazy. When we walked in to pick up the Lexus, it was 3 hours away. My husband had been out planning until 2 o'clock the morning before we went, woke up at 5:30 so he could get chores done and then go down with me to pick that up. And I walked in after driving 3 hours thinking that I was like kind of going to be okay, and just sobbed like a baby. I mean, I could cry thinking about it. Like, that was huge for us. And driving home, I went from like this giddy schoolgirl to like laughing at to just sobbing everywhere because, like, I quit my teaching job. I didn't think, we didn't struggle by any means, but we never had enough to save for anything. And so the blessing now to pay my credit card bills on time, like to not have to worry that we're not going to have enough for the next month. And every time I get in that car, like, my kids are just waiting until they can eat in there because it still smells new. Like, I've never had that before. And I mean, I've never even been to a car lot. So I don't know that I needed to splurge because I feel like this whole opportunity has been a splurge for us. Like, I've got my little girl back. I can, I couldn't carry my kids up and down the steps. We crawled together at one point. Like, that's my splurge. And I tell people all the time, if you don't have belief in this company, borrow it from me, because I mean, it makes me really emotional. Like, I have my life back because of this. And that is something that I never, ever imagined coming in the form of a network marketing company. But I know now that those 4 years that we went through that, and I was crying myself to sleep at night, that was God setting me up for this. And that was a complete God divine thing, because I was mad at him that my little girl had to go through that stuff. But he was just setting me up to change lives. And so we'll always pay that forward. But that's my splurge. every day. I don't know if that's quite the emotional answer you were thinking you would get, but
No, that's a good answer. I mean, it's honest. Anything that's honest is a good answer as far as I'm concerned. I feel um, I the beauty. Okay, you said you had. I mean, you didn't describe it quite this way, but your very beginning, you went silver fast. But then, like you said, you thought you were on track to rank faster than what happened. And so I'm going to describe that as a slow start, even though some people would be like, I want to throw something at you for calling that slow because, you know, they feel like whatever. But the slow start of someone who, like, you're a self-proclaimed, self-descriptive, more of a yellow personality. The beauty of a yellow personality that I have seen, because I have a lot of yellows, I feel like I'm kind of yellow. I have a lot of yellows on my team. The beauty of that is the passion that comes with it once you do find the purpose. You know, once the purpose, you go, oh my God, there's purpose behind that. And then there's this, like, where you want to help people, you want to rescue people from their misery and all this stuff. That's where the beauty comes in from a yellow, and a yellow starts looking red. I mean, that's when you see it happen. I know when you said stuff like, I'm just wanting to pinpoint some things for some people. When you said things like, you didn't know that you had ranked silver. Same with me. I didn't know. I didn't even know there were ranks, even as we began to rank. And that at one point we were sitting in a Mexican restaurant, and Jetty got a phone call from Tarl, who I knew kind of who he was, but not exactly. Jetty got a phone call because Jetty had double ranked. We didn't know what double rank was. And he asked Jetty, you know, like something along the lines of, how did you do it, man? Or what, you know, he was recognizing us, you know, but it was like so bizarre because he's like, it's the company. He takes the phone call. He comes back and I'm like, what'd you say? He said, I was like, well, my wife just really likes, and he's talking about Probio 5 or fungus or something like that. And at that time, Charles probably like, sounds good. I have no idea what you're talking about, man. You know, like that. But that's the beauty and the passion of a person who's like, I've seen your journey. I mean, the portions of it that I've seen under, like you said, what you're like, I don't know what level I am. To me, I don't know what level you are either. In fact, sometimes people message me from other people's teams and I think they're on my team, and I don't. Someone has asked a question here that I hope you can answer. Being a yellow-green, I'm assuming that's what, I don't know if they're saying that that's what they are or what you are, but how do you come up with challenges and giveaways for your team, since those things don't motivate her? She's saying, I have a hard time coming up with fun things for customers and teams.
Know that you're never going to reach everybody on your team. And as a yellow, you feel like you have to, but you don't. And so sometimes you're going to have things where we've just started doing this. Like 3 weeks ago, we started doing a weekly team spirit award. And I love it because I get to highlight somebody on our team that's pouring back into someone else, and people get behind it, you know, and I feel like that gives something back to the yellows. Like as a yellow, you don't necessarily need the prizes, but as a blue, you love them, you know, like, so you don't feel like you have to appeal to every single person. And like I said, as a yellow personality, you feel bad if you don't, and know that sometimes things are going to flop. Like the first few times that I did giveaways on our team, it was like crickets because I didn't feel like people were jumping in on it. But at that time, I had attracted a lot of yellows because that was my personality. So, I mean, and Aaron will vouch for this. Like if I said, if you put a carrot in front of my face, like I want to get it, but it's not necessarily because I want the prize. I just want to be able to say that I got there. Yeah. And so like one of the big things for me now, in Vegas last year, I was one of the top 10 enrollers. I didn't even know that was an award. But that was huge to stand on that stage. Like, and I remember telling you, Lori and Jetty, that I was going to be on that stage as a jewel the next year because like that building belief was just mind blowing. But knowing that I had like the 500 club, I wanted that. It was set in front of me. It was something I didn't necessarily care about the bracelet. I just wanted to say that I made 500 club every month. And so this year it's the 700 club. I mean, clearly like the money will be nice, but it's just saying that I've gotten this level and that's what I want to get to. So know that you're okay if you appeal to the post appeals to 5 people. Like I put one in the team page earlier today and only a few people liked it, but it was one of the people that liked it was somebody that hasn't been actively showing in our team page. So that post was for her. You're not going to appeal to every single person that's on your page, and that's okay.
Okay. I want to say we've gone long on this call, so everyone, I apologize, but just good information. But I want to say that I want to compliment you again on your social media image. Some accidental, some intentional, but the truth is it all comes across as effortless, and that's good. I love the effortless image that you have on social media. I want to also say that I love the way you give testimonies. Every time I've asked you to give a testimony, I think, ooh, I want to ask her again next time. And I'm like, well, I probably shouldn't ask her every single time. But your testimony is so powerful. Your daughter's story, so interesting. I know there's scripture that what the enemy intended for bad, God has turned around and used for good. And the people that you have the impact on and influence over now because of some tragedy, or I wouldn't call it necessarily, because of some heartache that went on in your life and some struggle that you went through. I love that. And also I love, while I'm interviewing, and I'm sure everyone on here will love this, has loved this. I loved your honesty, because you're not afraid to say, well, I didn't know to do that, or I didn't do that. And I feel like when you get involved in network marketing, there are like 2 schools of thought, either like I have to know everything in order to get somewhere. That can leave you feeling left out or lost, or whatever. Or the school of thought of I don't need to know all that, I'll just plow through this. And then there's that middle. There's a middle of the road there that's like, I'm going to learn as I go. And you said you needed time to mature. You didn't really say mature, but I feel like that's what it is for all of us. That personal development time where you have to prepare yourself to lead other people. And experience does it. Armageddon does it. Exposure to, learning from other leaders, that gets you prepared. And I don't know, it's this journey for me, and I feel like you're relating to this with me, is the journey for me has been so much personal growth that sometimes I just think, oh my Lord, I don't know if I want to do any more personal growth, at least not for the next 2 weeks or whatever. It's like, but I look back at the lessons learned from the Armageddon, and I think, oh my God, I was at the point, Jetty and I'm going to share just like a 30-second snippet here. Jetty and I were at the point in our journey right before the Armageddon, where we were like thinking we should look at a dream house, and we should, and nothing wrong with this. Trust me when I say, this may happen to me. But at that time, I thought I had learned pretty much. It's like, I got this thing licked. And I had no idea, like, all these layers that were going to come bubbling up that was like, you got nothing licked, girl. Right now, I like that it's on pause, and I'm all good with it. We're not doing that right now. But so much has come from that, and I know you're saying the same thing for you is true. And I just appreciate you being on our call tonight, and I appreciate your vulnerability and your willingness to share. Is there anything that we've left out that you were wanting to say? I don't want to feel like, okay. Just
whatever you do. I know that there's people that you have your fears. Do it scared until you build your belief, because that's huge. And don't blame anybody else. Like, don't blame your upline. Don't blame your sideline. Don't blame your downline, because they're going to do whatever you're doing. And if you're playing the blame game, they're going to blame you back. Like, you have nothing holding you back except for, it's really common, but it's huge. I have it written. Like, the only thing holding me back from what I want is my own fear of what's between my 2 ears. So whatever your fear is, lay it down, because this opportunity for us, it's mind blowing, and we have it. And each one of you have it, and it's wide open. It really is wide open.
Oh yeah. There were a couple more questions. I will get the answers to the questions and put them with this video. Like, I'll get a link from her from one of the videos she talked about. I've made notes here of things that I want to discuss with her further. And I will also cover the questions that have been asked here. I don't want to make this video go much longer, because I definitely want to end this in prayer, but I had said on the post, on our team page and other pages that I'm part of, that basically I felt this week, I felt this nudge, I guess, that I feel like I want you guys who did what I had asked in that post and wrote down your prayer request. I feel like we won't have time to cover them tonight. That was never part of the plan anyway. So yes. And I've got some of you in different time zones. So we're not going to like go through your prayer requests, because this is private and personal. And what I feel like everyone needs to do, whatever you've got it written on, what I would really like you to do after the call tonight is go back through each prayer request that you've written down. If you haven't written down prayer requests, I urge you to write down your prayer request, but do it in the form of positive affirmations or scripture. In other words, do it in the form of praise and gratitude, meaning as if the prayer is already answered. So, for example, if you're wanting, if someone in your life is struggling with a health condition, if someone is struggling with finances, relationship problem, whatever it is, maybe marital trouble, something like that, I want you to write it down. Each single prayer request that you wrote down, I want you to write it down, like, thank you, Lord, or I'm so grateful that, basically, this issue is sewn up. Try not to use words that are like struggling words or negative words or pain words, and instead use words that are like healthy rather than I'm not sick anymore. Try to use words like I'm healthy. And then I want you to begin for the next week from now until next Wednesday. This is my challenge to you. First of all, this is my prayer challenge to you. I have another challenge to issue to you in a second too. My prayer challenge for you is for the next week, I want you to speak these affirmations, and I want you to watch in a week's time what develops and changes. And I feel like this was straight from heaven this week. I've said this kind of thing before, but I feel like I was supposed to really put a strong emphasis on it this week. As you begin to speak scripture, as you begin to speak life over your situation, I want you to be prepared next Wednesday night, because we'll talk about that a little bit. Talk about how things have changed in your situations by the fact that you begin to speak life over situations. And the other thing I want you to think about is Jetty and I went to a John Maxwell thing in the winter. I don't remember when it was, but they had us do this golden nugget thing. We had a bag. You'd get a bag when you walked in the door, and there was like a Hershey's nugget in each one of them. After each session that we listened to, like it was a simulcast thing, after each speaker, he would have you turn with the person next to you and give your golden nugget. Because, as I've learned, not through John Maxwell, but through other means, that the thing that you share within the first 48 hours, when you've had an interview like this or you've learned something, the thing that you share or put into practice in the first 48 hours is probably the only thing that's going to stick. And since there were so many golden nuggets tonight, I wrote down several things. One of the things I wrote down is she talked about dream boards and affirmations, that she has those everywhere. She talked about IPA challenges. She talked about her IPA journal. She talked about a Team Spirit Award. She talked about the way she posts on social media. If you only grasp on, and there were tons more. These were just a few that I wrote down. If you only grasped onto one thing, two things, write those things down and think, okay, well, it's time for bed tonight. So write down that in the morning when you get up, give yourself an extra 10 minutes. I'm going to go look at Bree's page. Lori said the way she posts is really good. And go flip and do it instead of being like, oh, yeah, what was that? I don't remember. Moving on to next week. Also, if it was something like, yeah, that IPA journal she talked about, maybe you were planning on ordering that. The things that you implement when you're on a Wednesday night Zoom call are the only things that are going to matter. The rest of it just gets lost out there in like the stratosphere and never comes back and lands on your shoulders. And I want something to land on your shoulders this week. It's going to make an impact in your business. I'm going to pray over it. So I'm going to make it short prayer. affirmations, and a golden nugget. That's my challenges for this week. Okay. Huh? Oh, the IPA journal? Jetty ordered us some IPA journals. Very nice. Love it. Okay. So take a cue from Jetty. Jetty's already done the challenge. Hang on one second here. I'm going to find my music. As we pray, if you have something specific that you really want to lift up in prayer, begin doing that. This is not the song I want. Here we go. Begin doing that in the form of praise rather than like beg. Oh, Lord God, please, whatever. God's here. God listens. I don't know if you guys saw the post I made the other day about worship leaders. I'm not pausing because I forgot what I was saying. This is just really important and impactful. I talked about how worship leaders are said to usher in the Holy Spirit, or this is not something that comes out of the Bible, by the way. This is just something that people say. And when they say, you know, worship leaders, your job is so important because you usher in the Holy Spirit. I heard this from well-meaning people the whole time I was a worship leader. So I kind of thought it was, you know, part of the rhetoric. The truth is it can really trip you up and make you think, well, something's got to usher him in. He's not here all the time. If he lives inside your heart, he walked in the door with you. And then I want to say, please. Every time I think about that, I think, anytime I'm in a service and somebody's like, the Holy Spirit's not here, he's not here, we have to bring him here, he'll show up in a minute. And I'm like, no, you're missing out because he walked in the door with me. I can't speak for anybody else. I can't vouch for anybody else. One thing that I've seen that worship does for people is it gets you out of your own head. Because you may walk in with something besides just the Holy Spirit. You may walk in with the whole week of trouble that came with you. But if that is at the forefront of your mind, or even what are people thinking, is someone looking at me, makes it very difficult to ever get out of your own head. Worship, there are way more things that worship does, but that's one of the things that I see people do. So I really encourage you to have worship music playing. I really also discourage you from thinking that the Holy Spirit has to have, you know, like you got to put out a pie on the windowsill to get him to show up at your house, because that's the wrong everything. Everything about that is wrong. If he lives inside your heart, then you are a healer. You are a miracle worker. You are all things through Christ. And so I'm going to just pray tonight that you understand that you acknowledge that and you believe it inside your heart. That I pray that the Holy Spirit will whisper that to you. But I'm telling you right now, I'm saying out loud, that if you are a believer, that the word says that we will do greater things. Now, I'm maybe not quoting this word for word, but my understanding is greater things than Christ even did when he was walking the earth. And that thought really excites me. Used to scare me though. And I feel that so many people are walking in that place where we're like, oh, I don't measure up and it's really not about us. And it's actually a lie to think that once Christ lives inside you, that you're not a miracle worker, that you're not. So God, I just pray that everybody can latch on to that tonight, that as you begin to speak life and scripture over your situation, and as you begin to lift up gratitude and praise, that the atmosphere literally, like the ions in the room, literally change from negative minus signs to positive plus signs. I pray that I want you to feel it. I want you to know it. But the truth is, even if you don't know it, I pray that you latch onto that and know it as truth. Understand it as truth. And that you change the way you talk to yourself, the way you talk about yourself, the way you talk about your business, your marriage, your kids, relationships, your job, your health. I don't know if you guys were on here. I think it was last week, maybe the week before. No, I think it was last week. And I had this pain go up my right hip down my leg, and then I started talking about it. And anyway, had the coolest thing happen. I knew that wasn't something I brought with me. I didn't have pain in my right hip, but it was God's way of acknowledging someone who was on the call that night. And then I began to speak over, I don't even remember what it was, what I felt God was telling me. And I opened my eyes, and the chat was someone was saying, that's me. That was me, my hip. And oh my gosh, what you said related to, okay? God is crazy amazing to me, the way he works. And I just pray that you have encounters like that. I pray that you start looking for encounters like that. Did you know that what you go looking for is usually what you find? Don't we know this when we tell a teenager not to go looking for trouble? I just pray that you go looking for, with intention, the things that you're wanting to find. That's why I'm wanting you to change your words. I pray that you're looking for the things that you want to find rather than worrying about the things that you don't want to find, because the energy that you put behind it, whichever thing you're looking for is what you're going to find. Well, they say worry and faith require the same kind of energy, and they both have the same magnetic power. And both of them are invisible things. Like if you have faith and you're praying for something, it's something that's visible, it's not tangible. If you're worrying about something and you're struggling with the constant nagging in your head, that's also something that's invisible, that hasn't happened. You're putting energy behind each one of those things. And it's one of the biggest things to make a radical change in your life, to change that. There's a scripture or something, it's not coming to me, that talks about captive. Take your thoughts captive. I think that's what it says. Talks about, don't let your mind go willy-nilly. That's what I'm saying about it. It's like, don't let your mind go willy-nilly and worrying. Every moment you spend worrying is a moment you've wasted. I pray that some of you tonight, that you'll take one or two or maybe three of the golden nuggets from Bree's interview, and then you'll also find some cheap index cards and write down some truly inspiring, heartwarming things, and you'll pin them on your window or on your mirror if it's the first time this has ever happened. Because I feel like there are some of you who you hear this and you think, that's a good idea, and then you never do it. Post-it notes are your friend here. Put them in your kids' room. God, I thank you that you let me ramble and that I don't have to feel, I think about this all the time when I start praying. I think, oh, I hope somebody's not saying, what is she doing? But God, I thank you that you're a good, good dad. You created me the way I am, and you love me. I'm grateful that he created you guys the way you are, and that he loves you. I'm grateful that I'm grateful for the understanding and peace in my heart that even when I felt like a screw up, I'm not a screw up. Pray anointed peace and anointed healing in all of your homes tonight. I pray a tangible Holy Spirit presence over all of you and all that you're encountering right now. And I pray that you make the most of this Zoom call tonight, what you've learned. In the next 48 hours, I pray that each one of you has something that you think that was worth my time. It was worth the effort. If I had to set my alarm early, make sure I did it. I lift all of this up in the name of Jesus. Amen. Okay, the person, wait, I need to read this and make sure it's something I can read out loud. Can I tell that? The person who just, well, I won't say your name if you don't want me to. If you don't want me to say it at all, I'm just curious if I can say that. In regards to what I prayed last week. Sorry, please don't go because I want to get an answer back from her if I can tell this. Okay. The person last week that had the hip thing going on, I didn't know who it was. And even when she told me that was me, her name on here was like something totally different than what her actual name is. And she just now said, Lori, my hip has not bothered me since last Wednesday's Zoom call. And oh, I know, now I know what it was that I had said to her. I said, I feel like you're dealing with something that's like a negative emotion thing, like unforgiveness or something like that. Well, the hip and the unforgiveness or some sort of a negative emotion thing was going on with the same person. And she said, and my sister-in-law texted me and we are planning on a cookout at our house before our kids start school. And if I remember right from last week, that had been a long time in the coming, like the sister-in-law broken relationship thing. And that's happened. And I want to explain to you guys something that I've learned. I hate to say this is the way God works because God may work different for everybody and he may work different for me next week. But something I've seen that's so interesting is the fact that my hip was hurting and I said it was an acknowledgement to her when it was paired up with a relationship struggle and negative emotion. She was like, God's talking about me. To me, that's the coolest thing. God to write your name on the chalkboard is like the coolest thing in the world. An acknowledgement. Isn't that cool? And sometimes that's all it takes to get healed. Did you know that? Like, I didn't say anything special. Just about as special as I said tonight. Half the time, I don't know what I'm doing. And then that's cool to me too. I say half the time. The majority of the time, I don't know what I'm doing. She said, yes, over a year ago, she and my brother have not talked to me over an understanding. Probably a misunderstanding, I think is what she's saying. My eyes popped open when you said right hip. I just think that's so cool. So I know that we've gone way over time tonight. I appreciate you guys getting on here. Yeah, she said a misunderstanding. Appreciate your willingness to get on here and stay on one of these calls. I love you guys, and I will get this recording on here in the morning, if not sooner. Thank you so much, Bree. We appreciate you. I know you guys are even an hour later, and I know you got babies to take care of. We appreciate your time. Peace, everybody. Good night. I'm reading the person who just sent me this. I know you sent me that privately, and I know you're new, so I'm not going to say anything else, but if you knew how long it took me to get to the place where I was okay with even being on a Zoom call, much less praying out loud over people. It's interesting because when Bree was talking about tonight, when she said her talking about her circumstance with her health and her daughter's health, and saying she didn't know, it's hard to know what God is doing in those. I had a similar situation where I wouldn't pray. Sometimes I didn't pray at all, and I definitely didn't pray out loud. And I had a situation through Plexus where a girl, like I thought, a girl who I found out later was going through a huge season of untruth and manipulation and stuff, but she was constantly asking me to pray for her, not in regards to that, in regards to something else. And she would call me on the phone and ask me if I'd pray for her, and I didn't know that anything was going on manipulation-wise. And so I would think, God, this is very uncomfortable, and I'd start praying for her on the phone. And later I found out that there was a lot of stuff. I still pray for this person, by the way, but I found out that there was a lot of stuff going on in her life. And I was even being lied to about a lot of it. And I'm praying for her to, the best outcome to the situation. And I can remember saying one time to Jetty, I cannot believe I prayed for her so many times. The whole time she was lying for me. And it was like, literally, God shook me and said, you learned how to pray. You learned how to pray out loud. You learned not to be scared to pray. I see other the person who's there's two people private messaging me. The person who's new to Plexus, send me a private message. Would you mind doing that? I'd like to send you a friend request. I'd like to talk to you. This is cool. And the person who I've known for a while, for a few months, that's talking to me privately, I'm not talking. I know you're. I'm not talking about a lot of things out loud because of the situation. So I will talk to you in Messenger in a little while. All right. God bless you guys. I'm not ignoring you is what I'm trying to say. I'll explain in a minute. The second person who I'm talking to. Just send me a message. Now I'm back to the other person. Send me a. Okay, I'll find you. Sorry, it's not making sense to anybody but me.